So, in the last video, I talked about the conversation that Sneeko had with Zherka about the whole situation where Zherka and Hill Mike brought two underage girls to their house, and Zherka was basically making out with one of them. And during that conversation, Zherka said something interesting that I didn't mention in that video, because I wanted to make this separate video talking specifically about that. Zherka tells Sneeko that the reason why he trusted that the girl that he was making out with was indeed of legal age is because she was introduced to him by a girl that he already knew that works for Fresh and Fit as a girl finder. So I don't really know much about the logistics of a Fresh and Fit podcast, but when Zherka says that she is a girl finder, from my understanding, obviously her job is literally to find girls for content, for streams. And Zherka tells Sneeko that it turns out that this girl herself is 17 years old.
You know, they duped us, and really, if that girl didn't work for I don't even think you could have a job at 17 as a girl finder, but
so that girl on Fresh and Fit is 17?
So I looked into it, and yes, she actually is 17 years old. She turns 18 this September. So Zherka says that this is a 17-year-old girl hired by Fresh and Fit with a job of finding them girls. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a 17-year-old girl to bring you other underage girls, even if it is only for content, even though honestly I don't really think it's only for content, as Zherka and Hill Mike have shown us. But even if it is only for content, I do still kinda feel like it might be morally not exactly right to put a bunch of underage teenagers, on a podcast that is watched by an audience of incels that hates women, and the entire content of a podcast is basically just shitting on these girls, calling them whores, telling them that they're for the street, and telling them that no man is gonna want them when they're 25, or if they have a career and education. So I guess that it is a possibility that Myron didn't know that this girl was actually 17 when he hired her, but if it is true that he didn't know, then that kinda destroys all of his credibility as someone that used to be an FBI agent. Myron Gaines always brings up the fact that he used to work for the FBI with the intention of giving him authority on specific issues. For example, whenever someone asks him if Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are guilty, he always talks about how he used to work for the FBI on these kinds of trafficking cases, and therefore he knows for sure that the Tates are innocent. So I'm supposed to believe that this guy somehow knows for sure that the Tates are innocent, even though it's abundantly clear that they actually are guilty. But he didn't know that he hired a 17-year-old girl to find him other girls that he can use for content, and maybe even do more than just that. And the reason why I keep implying that these girls aren't only for content, and they might actually be for some sexual relationships as well, is because Myron was exposed by a woman a while ago for basically telling her directly that she can only come on the podcast if she basically fucked him. And I know that Myron debunked this claim a while ago on previous streams, but the truth is his debunk isn't even a debunk, he just confirms the story. He basically says that she only showed one part of the conversation and not the whole conversation, and then he shows you the entire conversation. And please feel free to read the conversation and see for yourself. If you read the whole conversation, it doesn't debunk anything, it just confirms the woman's claim that yeah, this guy wanted her to fuck him to be able to come on his podcast. So that's his mentality with the women that he brings on his podcast, and he also hired a 17-year-old and gave her the job to find him girls for his podcast. Then I don't know, is it really that unreasonable to think that maybe he did have multiple underage girls on his podcast and that maybe he tried doing something with them? I don't know, I guess it is just speculation, but I still wanted to put that out there in case something else comes up in the future. Also, did you know that 95% of people that watch my videos are pedophiles?